It's not too late to work on this issue together, for insurance companies to help come to the table and work with us around a notion that we have a broken system. Work with us to pass reform.
After administration allies protested the insurance companies meeting here in Washington, today the HHS secretary went into the lion's den.
Don't forget we have a deadline, actually 2 deadlines for health care reform. We've heard that before. Top line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And it's twitter.com/the note. Let us know what you think. Answer our question of the day. You name it, we're here.
Kick us off. What is your top line?
Show me time. President Obama heads to Missouri today. He'll be in St. Louis later this afternoon, again addressing health care reform. He's given a speech or two on this subject, David, as you may or may not know. He'll be on the road quite a bit. And his deadline, whether or not that's the congressional deadline is another story, is now only 8 days away. We are in the thick of it.
If indeed his deadline is to be met, the House Democrats need to get that bill fully scored, printed, and up online by Monday. The clock is ticking. Supreme showdown. Yes, John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States, gave a speech down south yesterday where he was talking about that moment at the State of the Union speech where the Supreme Court was sitting there and the president was chiding them over the Citizens United campaign finance decision. And Rick, unbelievably, Robert Gibbs fired back. He didn't take on the Chief Justice directly, but he used the issue, he used the moment that Robert said, maybe we shouldn't be here for this kind of talk, to talk about that Citizens United case. It is a clear political winner. Some north of 70% of the country is with Obama on this position.
Right, and John Roberts' point had nothing to do with the substance of the decision. It was about the propriety of it. It is increasingly hard to imagine any Supreme Court justices showing up for future State of the Unions, at least in the foreseeable future, given the fallout here.
Without a doubt.
Masa Mishigas, and a hat tip to Chris Eliza for the excellent use of Yiddish. Eric Masa went on television yesterday and basically imploded. He contradicted himself at several turns in a pair of TV interviews that could not have gone better from Democrats' perspectives. This was a man who I think it's easy to look back on this and say this guy had no credibility. He should not have been a member of Congress in the first place, and it's just a lot easier to dismiss Eric Masa based on his performance yesterday than it was even a day earlier.
When a Glenn Beck interview ends with Glenn Beck apologizing to his audience for wasting an hour of their time, it's certainly extraordinary was one word to describe it.
Are you ticklish?
I am rather very ticklish, actually, Rick. Biden's bungled Middle East trip. That is our last headline today, and it is a huge story coming out of the White House right now. Vice President Biden in Israel trying to push forward the Obama administration's Middle East peace process gets a huge embarrassment from Israel when while he's on their soil, they announce expansion of settlements. Rick, this is unbelievable. The vice president is there to try to say, get everyone to the table. Today he's in the West Bank and Ramallah, and while he's there praising where they are, the Israelis go and do exactly what the White House has asked them not to do to move the process forward.
Yeah, and this is just one of many areas where the Obama national security and foreign policy strategy has not exactly panned out. Very unfortunate timing around the trip and around the Israeli decisions. You've got to think that someone wasn't really paying attention to all the maneuverings.
You rarely get surprise moments like these on these well-choreographed foreign trips, but this was certainly one of them. We're going to begin with the healthcare politics up on Capitol Hill. We are joined by the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Maryland Democrat Chris Van Hollen. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. Let's begin with sort of this end game. We are in the final throes, if you will, of the healthcare debate up there on Capitol Hill. And it is clear that you guys are not going to be able to pass a bill without converting some of those Democrats who voted against it in November to vote for it this time. What is the argument when they sit in the room with you that you make to them to convert a no vote to a yes vote?
Well, first of all, it's good to be with you guys. And what's converting them is the calls they're getting from their constituents, including a lot of small businesses who've just opened up their latest mail from their health insurance companies, and they're seeing these premiums going through the roof. We've seen it in California, Ohio, and now we increasingly see it from every state around the country. And that has been a renewed wake-up call that the current system is absolutely broken and it's unsustainable and driving families into bankruptcy in some cases. Small businesses either have to shed their employees and not provide coverage or not hire new people. So the results of the most recent huge rate increases by the insurance companies have led people to take another look. And when they look at the proposal that we've provided, which is to hold insurance companies accountable, greater transparency, bring down premiums, they're increasingly saying, we cannot put this issue on hold, we cannot start over again, because the insurance companies aren't starting over again, they keep sending new rate hikes.
Are there districts in the country, you think, where this issue is going to cost Democrat seats, where this is going to be a net negative for a Democratic candidate?
No, I don't think there are any districts in the country where the outcome of this great debate on health care reform is going to cost someone their seats. Now, as you know, our members have looked at this. Some of them opposed it on round one. Some of them will probably, of course, oppose it on round two, some of them. But as you mentioned, there are some people who, having voted against the House bill, are now looking at this final bill that's coming out. That's going to be a mix of the House and Senate bill, getting rid of some of the worst aspects of the Senate bill, like the Nebraska deal, and including some of the additional ideas, bipartisan ideas, that came out of the recent summit at the White House, including clamping down on fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicare. So.
But Congressman, I want to pick up on that Nebraska deal right there, because actually the way this is going to work, your caucus is going to have to vote for that Cornhusker deal, that Louisiana purchase, which is actually staying in the bill in its final form. And a lot of these other deals, they are going to have to be on record with a yes vote in that. Are you getting a lot of blowback from the caucus on that? Even if the reconciliation, the fixes, quote unquote, come 5 minutes after that vote, they're going to have to be on record for voting for that Cornhusker kickback. Is that a problem with your caucus?
No, because they're going to be on record in the same period of time and immediately amending it. In other words, they're very clearly against that Nebraska deal and all that other stuff. They're going to be assured immediately that they're going to get a vote to amend it. And as a result of that, I think they're going to be able to tell a story about how they acted to fix the worst problems in the Senate bill, and at the same time keep some of the very good elements that were in the House bill. So I believe that when everybody sees what's going on in terms of the immediacy in the timing, and it's an amendment to immediately change the Senate bill, people will understand that. Again, otherwise, they're going to be able to say, look, we changed these things that all of you don't like about the Senate bill that have gotten a lot of notorious attention, and understandably so.
Mr. Chairman, you announced today an expansion in your so-called Red to Blue program. These are Republican-held seats that you're hoping to move into the Democratic column, 13 of them in all. I'm curious, there are 4 of those seats that strike me as particularly tough. They're McCain-won districts. Realistically speaking, how do you get a district that voted for John McCain in 2008 to vote for a Democratic member of Congress, throw out the Republican member of Congress, and vote for a Democrat in 2010?
Well, I think that all of these races around the country are going to come down to a contest between 2 individuals and 2 different views of how we need to move the country forward. And while some people may have concerns about the state of the economy, and we're continuing to do things to try and provide small businesses with more support so that we can continue to move out of the recession, and we are seeing positive signs, one thing people do not want is to turn back the clock to the same economic policies that got us into this fix to begin with. That's the position of most independents, certainly Democrats, and there are a lot of Republicans who don't want to go back to the Bush economic policies that created the mess that we've got today. So this is not about how we got here, but the best evidence of what our Republican colleagues will do, if, for example, they were to have control of the House, is what they did before. And I don't think anybody wants to go back to that.
Before we let you go, Congressman, I just want to ask you about your former colleague, Eric Massa, who has now resigned his seat, no longer a congressman. Ethics Committee no longer will deal with him because he's no longer a member of Congress, but there are some serious allegations out there. Should there be some sort of independent investigation into the allegations that were made, or should this just now disappear, these allegations against him?
Well, this is a very sad case, and the question you raised is something we will be looking into, because as you said, when he resigned his seat, clearly the complaints filed with the Ethics Committee went away, but there may be other forums in which those individuals can pursue those complaints. So that's something that will be looked at as we move forward.
And that should be pursued regardless of what happened with ethics?
Well, again, this is something under discussion. That the big issue is going to be whether the individuals involved, and I don't know who they are other than what's been in the press here, whether and how they want to pursue that.
And I take it you hope to see a special election in that district? The governor of New York would have that decision.
There will be a special election called. That's my assumption. The governor, I think, has some flexibility in terms of when he would announce it and then when he would schedule it. But that would be our expectation, yes.
That means maybe 5 special elections between now and November. How many will the Dems win of those 5?
we're going to do very well in the special elections.
All right.
Chairman Chris Van Hollen.
And don't forget, you know, we won that special election back in September
Right.
in upstate New York, where, you know, Republicans had held that seat since the Civil War.
Democrat Chris Van Hollen, thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Good to
We
be with
appreciate
you.
it.